You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Bonkers plot exposed to shield Trump from international prosecution report, based on an article by Alexander Willis. Gaza's Reconstruction with immunity for the powerful. Power first, accountability last. The reported draft resolution around Trump's Board of Peace is not a bureaucratic footnote. It is a power move. An international body, cheered for life by the president who announced it, is alleged to be exploring legal immunity for itself and its personnel in connection with Palestinian deaths, property loss, and other harms in Gaza. The board denies the Guardian's characterization, but the structure described in the draft is the story. Who decides who escapes? Actual authority sits with the board and, under the draft as reported, with Trump personally. That matters. When a body created to oversee Reconstruction also seeks broad immunity from the consequences of its own work, it is not acting like a neutral administrator. It is building a fortress around decision makers before the first liability question is even asked. The key fact is not confusion. It is design. The draft reportedly gives Trump exclusive power to waive someone's legal immunity. That is not accountability. That is discretionary pardon authority inside the same political machine that set the rules. Reconstructing Gaza, excluding responsibility. The source also points to Section 7 of the draft, where claims for property loss or damage and personal injury, illness, or death would be handled by the board itself. That is a closed loop. The body accused of causing harm would also help decide what counts as harm and who gets remedy. Noura Harakat's warning that this amounts to no external oversight is the right frame. A Reconstruction authority that insulates itself from outside law is not merely rebuilding, it is governing through exemption. The story the framing tries to hide. The White House pushed questions to the board, and the board rejected the Guardian's description as wrong, misleading. That denial is predictably convenient. It tries to shift attention from the reported draft's architecture to the optics of the reporting. But the issue is not whether the legal wording is finalized. It is that the reported intent is to preempt accountability before any damage is assessed. That is a familiar tactic. Call immunity order, call seizure mission support, call legal installation process. The draft's language about providing free of charge public premises and facilities also reads, in context, like a mechanism for compelled access dressed up as administrative necessity. If that interpretation holds, the board is not just reconstructing Gaza, it is creating a legal corridor for taking what it needs without meaningful recourse. The larger pattern. This is what elite impunity looks like when it is translated into institutional form. Power announces a humanitarian purpose, then writes itself out of the consequences. The language is always procedural. The effect is always one way. Palestinians absorb the losses. Officials and their agents get shields. The broader pattern is not incompetence. It is governance by exception, where the actors with the most leverage also claim the least accountability. In that model, law is not a constraint on power. It is a tool power uses to certify itself in advance. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Raw Story for today's article. With the automated voice of Kuzal, thanks for listening.